In philosophy, ethics, and political science, the common good is a specific good that is shared and beneficial for all or most members of a given community. The good that is common between person C and person B may not be the same as between person A and person C. Thus the common good can often change, although there are some things such as the basic requirements for staying alive, food, water, and shelter that are always good for all people. Other definitions. Utilitarianism the common good has sometimes been seen as a utilitarian ideal, thus representing the greatest possible good for the greatest possible number of individuals. The greatest possible number of individuals would mean all human beings. This definition of the common good presents it as a quality which is convertible, or reducible, to the sum total of all the private interests of the individual members of a society and interchangeable with them. But this is a narrow, and many would argue impoverished, view of what the common good might encompass, like the Ubuntu allowed philosophy. Social another definition of the common good, as the quintessential goal of the state, requires an admission of the individual's basic right in society, which is, namely, the right of everyone to the opportunity to freely shape his life by responsible action, in pursuit of virtue and in accordance with the moral law. The common good, then, is the sum total of the conditions of social life which enable people the more easily and straightforwardly to do so. The object of state sovereignty is the free choice of means for creating these conditions. Others, in particular John Rawls, make the distinction between the good, that is actively creating a better world however that may be defined, and the just, which creates a fair, liberal social infrastructure that allows the pursuit of virtue, but does not prescribe what the common good actually is. Some assert that promoting the common good is the goal of democracy and socialism. One of such philosophers of modern days is Michael Sandel of Harvard University. Catholic social teaching, one of the earliest references in Christian literature to the concept of the common good is found in the Epistle of Barnabas, "Do not live entirely isolated, having retreated into yourselves, as if you were already, fully justified, but gather instead to seek together the common good." The concept is strongly present in Augustine of Hippo's magnum opus City of God. Book 19 of this, the main locus of Augustine's normative political thought, is focused on the question, is the good life social? In other words, is human well-being found in the good of the whole society, the common good? Chapters 5 to 17 of Book 19 address this question. Augustine's emphatic answer is yes. Augustine's understanding was taken up and, under the influence of Aristotle, developed by Thomas Aquinas. Aquinas's conception of the common good became standard in Roman Catholic moral theology. Against that background, the common good became a central concept in the modern tradition of Catholic social teaching, beginning with a foundational document, Rerum Novarum, a papal encyclical by Pope Leo XIII, issued in 1891. This addressed the crisis of the conditions of industrial workers in Europe and argued for a position different from both laissez-faire capitalism and socialism. In this letter, Pope Leo guarantees the right to private property while insisting on the role of the state to require a living wage. Contemporary Catholic social teaching on the common good is summarized in the 2004 Compendium of the Social Doctrine of the Church, Chapter 4, Part 2. Quoting the Second Vatican Council document, Gaudium Aspes, this says, according to its primary and broadly accepted sense, the common good indicates the sum total of social conditions which allow people either as groups or as individuals, to reach their fulfillment more fully and more easily. The compendium later gives statements that communicate what can be seen as a partly different sense of the concept, as not only social conditions that enable persons to reach fulfillment, but as the end of goal of human life. He common good, is the good of all people and of the whole persona. The human person cannot find fulfillment in himself, that is, apart from the fact that he exists with others and for others. The goal of life in society is in fact the historically attainable common good. The Roman Catholic International Theological Commission drew attention to these two partly different understandings of the common good in its 2009 publication, In Search of a Universal Ethic, A New Look at the Natural Law. It referred to them as two levels of the common good. Another relevant document is Veritatis Splendor, a papal encyclical by Pope John Paul II, issued in 1993 to combat the relaxation of moral norms and the political corruption that affects millions of persons. In this letter, Pope John Paul describes the characteristics and virtues that political leadership should require, which are truthfulness, honesty, fairness, temperance and solidarity, given that truth extends from honesty, good faith, and sincerity in general, to agreement with fact or reality in particular. Contemporary American usage. As regards contemporary American politics, the language of the common good is increasingly being adopted by political actors of the progressive left to describe their values. Jonathan Dale Henty argues that one should distinguish between the common good, which may be shared wholly by each individual in the family without its becoming a private good for any individual family member, and the collective good, which, though possessed by all as a group, is not really participated in by the members of a group. It is actually divided up into several private goods when apportioned to the different individual members. First described by Michael Tomasky in the American Prospect magazine and John Halpin at the Center for American Progress, the political understanding of the common good has grown. The Take Back America Conference, the liberal magazine The Nation, and the Rockridge Institute have identified the common good as a salient political message for progressive candidates. More recently, the common good rhetoric is being used by political actors in an explicitly religious context, such as Kansans for Faithful Citizenship. In addition, non-partisan advocacy groups like Common Good are also championing reform efforts to support the common good. The United States Constitution contains two references to the general welfare, one occurring in the preamble and the other in the taxing and spending clause. See also, the Commons, General Welfare Clause, Public Good, Public Interest, Social Contract, Utilitarianism. References. External links, The Common Good in Catholic Social Teaching, Exposition of Plato Project.